We're going to start this evening. We're on Kuf Ayin Vav Amid Aleph, and we left off in middle of the Mishnah Berurah on Sif Katan Tes. We're in Siman Shin Lamed Dalet Sif Katan Tes. So I'm going to run through the words of the Mechaber quickly, and then we'll pick up where we left off in the Mishnah Berurah. The Mechaber said, "Va'omer la'acherim," the Balabayas, the owner of the house where the fire is taking place, can say to other people that are not members of his household, Bayu v'hatzilu lachem kol echad mazayin shalosh seudais. He can tell the other people, look, I already saved my gimel seudais. I'm limited. I can only take out of the house mazayin gimel seudais. So if you want, by all means, go inside, and each one of you take mazayin gimel seudais. And we explained that since this person is now going to run into the house and he's saving mazayin gimel seudais for himself, he takes on the same limitations as the owner of the house because he's saving for himself. Once he's saving for himself, we have to be afraid he's going to become bohol, he's going to become agitated and all worked up, and he's going to try to chap and shema yechabe. He might come to put out the fire, so we limit him to mazin gimel sudais. At the same time, this person also has the same halacha as the owner of the house. He could also go inside and put on whatever clothing he could put on. V'im writes him, now, these acherim who are saving stuff from inside the house, if they want, zeichim b'ayim hefker. Since the owner of the house told them expressly, go inside and save stuff for yourself, so by doing that, the owner of the house was mafkir his possessions. He said, go in and take. So if they want, they could go take and they could keep it. Kevan chamar etzilu lachem, because he told them expressly, take for yourself. But v'im einam roitzim lezakos, if they don't want to go ahead and take that stuff and keep it, and like the Mishnah Berurah said, because they know that this fellow doesn't really want to be mafkirit, he's just under duress, he's in a pickle, what is he going to do? But they don't want to take advantage of his tragedy, so v'im einam roitzim lizkos, ela roitzim lachziroi, and rather they want to return the stuff, the possessions, to the balabayas, lekabel schar alatzalosam, and they want to get something in payment for doing this guy a service, right? So I went ahead and I saved $50 worth of stuff for you. It took me a half hour. You know, if you pay me $20, that would be nice. Harashus biyadam. They're allowed to accept that payment. V'lo yehavi schar Shabbos. And it's not considered as if they're taking payment for work that they did on Shabbos, which would be aser. Now let's jump down into the Mishnah Berurah. We're going to pick up from Ois Katan Chav Gimel. V'im einam roitzim lizkais, if they don't want to take the possessions and keep them, since they know and they recognize that the balabayas was not mafkir this stuff willingly, and if they don't want to do that, they want to get paid, they're allowed to, and in Ois Katan Chav Dalet v'lo yavi schar Shabbos. It's not a problem of taking payment for a service you provided on Shabbos. Why? So the Chavetz Chaim explains. The Me'ikara, he brings this down from Rashi in the Sugya in Shabbos. The Me'ikara, right from the beginning when they ran into the house to save the possessions, Lava daita deschar pu'ula nachti, they didn't go run into the house al das that they want to go earn money. Ume'ef kerakazachu. This fellow said to them, the owner of the house said to these people, go inside and take whatever you want. So they ran inside and they took possessions. They're fully entitled to keep it. So we look at it as if they took those possessions to keep those possessions. And now when they give the possessions back to the owner, so let's say the possessions, again, like I said, they're worth $50, right? Now he's going to give it to the owner. The owner's going to give him $20. So the way we look at it is, it's not schar Shabbos. You took $50 worth of stuff from Hefker, and you gave him back $30 because you wanted to do the guy a service. You gave him back $30, but you didn't get paid $20 for a service that you provided on Shabbos. You had $50. You gave him back $30. So it's not schar Shabbos. Now, however, the caveat over here that the Chavetz Chaim says is, im hechziru loy. How about if they went ahead and they gave the possessions to the owner? So they took $50 worth of possessions, gave it back to the owner, and now say, listen, give me something, give me $20. So b'choil, if this would happen on a Wednesday, Vadai tzarech l'shalom loy. The owner would certainly be chayiv als dinei mamonos, als dinei choshen mishpat. The owner would definitely be obligated to pay for the service that these guys provided. We would look at it and we would say it's like a yerid. Somebody went ahead and did you a favor. Somebody went ahead and went into your yard and did you a service and you weren't even aware of it. The halacha is that you have to pay him, at least schar b'teila, you have to pay him. The schar for the amount of time that he spent, at least you have to pay him. So over here also he provided a service to have to pay. Aval b'Shabbos. But let's say this happened on Shabbos. You saved the possessions on Shabbos and you gave already back the stuff to the owner, right? You already gave it back. Now you want it to pay you. Yesh svara loymar tehu schar Shabbos. Now we would consider it, or Chavetz Chaim says at least there is a svara, there is a logic to say that now we do have to look at it as schar Shabbos, acharei shekvar hechzer loymay atzmai, because you already took the possessions and you gave them back to him. He didn't even ask. You went and you gave it to him. Now you can't turn around and say, hey, that stuff was mine. So now when you're taking payment, now you're taking payment. In other words, before what we were saying was, I went ahead and I took the possessions. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to return the possessions to you. You're going to give me $20 as a reward. We don't look at it as schar Shabbos. Instead, we look at it, I was zeichen the possessions from Hefker, and now I'm doing you a favor, I'm giving them back, and you're letting me keep $20, and you're going to hand me a $20 bill. But if I took the possessions, and I already gave the possessions to you, and now I'm asking you, pay me, so now clearly I'm asking you to pay me for the service that I provided. I'm not saying that I gave you my possessions that I was in from Hefker, right? And now give me $20. I'm saying I gave you back your stuff. It was your stuff. And pay me for the service I provided. That, the Chavetz Chaim says, there would be a svar to say that that's schar Shabbos. Ayin b'magen Avram, Masha Kosa b'zeh b'shem Shiltei Gibayrim, that it's schar Shabbos. V'ayin be'Eliyahu Rabbah shemafakvik alav, and says, no, really, we still look at it that it's not. V'hinei Amasha Kosa l'Shulchan Aruch t'zoichem and a hefker, Kosa b'magen Avram, we're saying here that it's as if they're zoichin it from hefker. The Magen Avram says, Ayin b'choshen mishpat, Siman Reish Nun Tes, Siman Shin Samches, the Dina de Malchusa, very interesting. We're saying it's as if the people who ran into the house were zoichin the possessions from hefker. Why? Because this fellow, the owner of the house, said, look, my house is burning down. I'm miyayish on everything in it. I already took my Muslim Gimel Sudas. I'm not allowed to take anything more. You want to go run in and you want to go take? Okay, go take. So it's hefker. But, points out the Magen Avram here, that according to Dina de Malchusa, the loy mahani yush, Dina de Malchusa, the legal system, at least in those times, doesn't recognize the concept of yush. You don't lose your ownership. Yush means that you gave up. Yush means that you gave up on your stuff. You've given up. You don't think you're going to be able to keep it anymore. And because of that, you lose ownership. But that's not a legal construct. That's a halachic construct, yish. So if Dina de Malchusa doesn't recognize it, so then who says that you could say that I'm zoich in it, that the akerim, the people that run into the house are zoich in it? Mehechet teisa that they could be zoich in it. However, that shouldn't bother us because over here it's not only the legal construct of a yush that we're using. He also said expressly, he made a verbal statement. He said, Hatzilu lachem, save it for you. So we're not only relying on yush, we're also relying on his verbal statement. Isa b'Gemara, the Gemara brings down in Shabbos, and Kuf Chaf Amud Aleph, the Chassid lo yitol schar. In such a case, when Chas v'Shalom there's a fire on Shabbos, and he asks, the owner asks other people to run in and take stuff, that a chassid means somebody who does lifnim mishuras adin, somebody who comports himself in such a way that he goes the extra mile. He doesn't live by the letter of the law. He goes the extra mile and he does even what he's not mechuyev to do. So such a person, a chassid lo yitol schar, should not take payment for going ahead and helping this guy out and saving his possessions. The yesh loy levater mishaloi b'chol davar sheyesh by nidnud avera. A chassid is somebody who should be so worried that even if there's a vaitach shash, that maybe there's a question here of schar Shabbos, Even though we have this whole back and forth, we have a strong svara to say it's not Schar Shabbos, but if there's a nidnud avera, if there's any shum, any tzad, any side to look at this and say that there might be Schar Shabbos, a chassid should be concerned with that, and he should not take schar for this. Okay.
What do I think about Dina de Malchusa? If I'm going to court, okay, Dina Malchusa, but this is between me and God.
Yeah, but no, it's not. No. We're not talking about the Schar Shabbos. We're not talking about the Schar Shabbos. No. With the Dina de Malchusa, the question is not the Schar Shabbos. The Dina de Malchusa, the question is, what right do you have to say that you're being zoicha from hefker? You're not being zoicha from hefker because Dina de Malchusa Dina, and it's still his possession.
We're not talking about the Aveil or anything.
No, we're just talking about the legal ownership. The legal ownership. Okay, let's go weiter.
There's no movement that I'm stuck, my house is burning down.
Right.
It's not expected that the Yid should help another Yid to help him.
No, that
It's Chassidus.
right. No, Midas Chassidus not to take the payment. Midas Chassidus not to take the payment. It was like this: you provided a guy service. There's no reason you shouldn't get paid.
I know people in this community. They
Right.
would run to help, and they would be insulted if you.
Mi kam Yisrael.
I think so.
Right? No, 100%. 100% mi kam Yisrael. But let's change the dynamic a little bit. We have, let's say nowadays, we have chaverim, right? Wonderful thing. You're stuck on the side of the road. You call a guy. He drops everything. He comes. He takes from his own time. Takes from his family. Runs out to you. Changes your tire and everything else. What does the guy say when you finish? If you want to make a donation to chaverim, very nice. But they don't expect to get paid, right? They do this out of the goodness of their heart. It's a wonderful thing. But now let's take a step back. The guy doesn't have food to put on his table the next meal. Talking about poverty, people living in poverty. Yeah, I'm talking about in a society where people are living in dire poverty, right? So look, I provided you a service. I helped you out. I provided you a service. There's nothing wrong with saying, pay me something. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, we don't realize sometimes the luxury that we have. I mean, often we don't realize the luxury. A lot of the things that we see in Divrei Chazal, we have to put ourselves in that picture of. Al Shabbos. Don't take the money because of Hilchas Shabbos, because of the Nidna Avera of Shabbos. That's where the Midas Chassidus comes in, not in the Chesed Shabbai. The Midas Chassidus comes in Shabbos. Don't have anything to do, Chas v'Chalila, with if there's a tzad of Schar Shabbos. Okay, let's go weiter. So really, we're starting today's Dirshu now. Sif Katan Yud. Kol, and again, I just have to be makdim over. This is a tricky Sif Katan. This is one of these Sifim in Shulchan Aruch where we have to read a little bit between the lines. We have said you're limited to saving Mazon Gimel Seudais. You're also limited when it comes to clothing, to saving the clothing that you need for that day, with a loophole that you could put on as much clothing as you could put on, and you could go outside, change, and you could keep on saving. Chavetz Chaim asked on the previous Amud, why don't we have that same heter when it comes to Oichel Mashkin, to food? Why don't we say that you could save Mazon Gimel Sudais and then run back in and save another Mazon Gimel Sudais? And the Chavetz Chaim explained that the reason is clothing is different. Because by clothing, since we're giving you a caveat that the only way you're allowed to save the clothing is by derech levisha, you have to actually put the clothing on. That will make you remember Shabbos. You won't forget Shabbos, and you won't come to put out the fire. Now says the Mechaber, Kol hatzala she'amarnu. Everything that we've said that you're allowed to save. So that means the Mazon Gimel Sudais, the clothing that you're allowed to save, not the clothing that's actually on your back. You woke up, there's a fire, and you're dressed, or you're wearing pajamas. We don't need a heter to walk outside while you're dressed. We don't need a heter. No one's going to say you have to take your clothing off. But this that we said, that you're allowed to save Mazon Gimel Sudas, and now you're allowed to go ahead and put on extra clothing and this and that. All of that, Eina ela l'chatzer acheres hamu'ureves. That's only if you're taking the clothing out to a chatzer hashutfin, you're taking it out to a common courtyard where you need an eruvei chatzeros. You have to join everybody in an eruvei chatzeros, otherwise there's an issa d'rabbanan to carry in the chatzer. So we're only talking about where you're going out to a chatzer where there is an eruvei chatzeros. So there isn't even an issa d'rabbanan in carrying out to that chatzer. Avaloy l'she'ena mu'reves. But you want to take this stuff out to a chotzer that's where you need an eruva chatzeris and you don't have one, so there's an issa d'rabbanan to carry out to that chotzer, then you're not allowed to save this stuff. Then all bets are off. Then you're not allowed to take anything outside. You're not allowed to be over an issa d'rabbanan of haitzah, even though we've seen previously that we're ready to relax the isurim of muktzah, which is also an issa d'rabbanan. But the Isser of Haitzah D'Rabbanan we're not going to relax, says the Mechaber, and you can't take stuff outside to a Chatzah She'eina Mu'ureves. Now, Haggah. The Ramah says here, and we have to be very careful with this Ramah. V'yesh makilin, there are those who rule leniently, there are those who makel, and say, af l'she'eina Mu'ureves, that you could also take things out to a Chatzah that does not have an Eruv. This does not mean Eichlin, Mashkin, Klei Tashmishai. The only thing this Ramah is going on is Malbushim, is clothing. We're going to see it in the Mishnah Berurah. You would never know it. You would never know it. We'll see it in the Mishnah Berurah. This is only going on Malbushim. What's at work over here? What's at work over here is to say that you could take Eichlin, Mashkin, and Klei Tashmishai out to a Chatzah She'eina Mu'ureves and be over Haitzah D'Rabbanan, that no one is going to be matir. What the Ramah is being matir, based on other Rishonim, the Ramah is being matir that Malbushim, clothing, what exactly are we being matir? You're wearing clothing to a Chatzah She'eina Mu'ureves. You're allowed to wear clothing to Rosh Hashanah. So what are we being matir? We're not being matir anything. So therefore, the Ramah says, "V'yesh makilin af l'she'eina mu'ureves." The clothing that you want to put on, even if you're putting on multiple layers of clothing, that's all derech levisha. So what is there to be matir? So therefore, v'yesh makilin by clothing. Now let's see the Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah says on the bottom of Kufay and Vav Amud Aleph, Oiskat L'Chaf Hey, Kol Hatzala. Hainu, what are we talking about? Hainu bein hatzala d'mazayin shalos seudais, whether we're talking about the food for the three sudas, uklei tashmishav and your utensils, ubein hatzala d'malbushim, or whether we're talking about the clothing you're allowed to save. You're not allowed to save that stuff to a chatzah she'eina mu'ureves. Now, says the Chavetz Chaim right away, V'af agav the pasuk le'el b'simin shenal of sif lamed vav. We said over there, the mutter lotzeis b'shnei malbushim zal gabizeh. You're allowed to go out even with two layers of clothing, mishum de derech malbushu, because it's a derech malbush. So what in the world? Why is the Mechaber saying that we're going to aser taking clothing, wearing clothing out to a chatzah she'eina mu'ureves? Hacha kevan de bahatzola ka'asik. Over here, since the whole reason this guy is putting on clothing now is to save it from the fire, chayshinan tvei de minche shu Shabbos, we're worried that he's going to forget that it's Shabbos, the yavai lichvais, and he's going to come chas v'shalom to put out the fire. So you hear what's going on here? We're asering somebody to wear clothing, derech levisha, to take it out to a rishus d'Rabbanan, to take it out to a chatzah she'eina mu'ureves, because we're afraid of the gzera that since he's only doing it to save the clothing, he might come to put the fire out. V'hayesh b'kilin, the Ramah who's mekel, not the Ramah who's mekel, the Ramah who brings down the mekilim, v'hayesh b'kilim lo yisvir lahu hay svara. He doesn't hear this svara. The nachmir b'malbushim bazeh tfei mi ba'alma. We should be more machmir on wearing clothing over here by a fire than we're ever machmir anywhere else. Well, hachim akilin, and therefore he's mekel. But the Chavetz Chaim points out again, va'al malbushin kaimi. This whole Haggah, this whole Ramah is only talking about clothing. When it comes to the food or to the utensils, even the makilim, gam heim sfiralahu, the dafka l'mu'ureves shari, that you're only allowed to take out food and utensils to a chatzar mu'ureves. V'hamalbushin shamatirin, and this that the makilim, where they're matir, that you could take out clothing, dafka kishu loivishay some derech malbush, that's only if you're wearing them derech levisha. Aval kishu noisei some biyadai, if you would want to carry them in his hands, le'adifi mishar kelim. Malbushim are no different than other kelim. You're not allowed to carry them out to a chatzah she'eina mu'ureves. Af l'she'eina mu'ureves is cotton chavav. V'hu adin da'afilu rishus harabim shari. According to the Makilim, you would be allowed to wear the clothing even out to a Rishus Harabim. Because you're wearing clothing. What's aser? V'hine Bach pasak kedei Rishona. Chavetz Chaim brings down that the Bach paskins like the first shita. That's a makmer. Aval kol ha'achronim pasku kedei zu. But he says all of the achronim paskim like the Mekilim, that when it comes to malbushim, you could wear the malbushim outside to a chatzah shedim or reves, and even to a rishus harabim. Okay. Zok the mechaber weiter, Sifkat and Yud Aleph. Yeshayim, there are those who say, the chol hatzola she'amarnu, all of the limitations on being matzil, on saving stuff from a fire that we've said, the limitation of gimel seudais, the limitation on the utensils that you need for the day, clothing that you need for the day, without the loopholes. All of these limitations, when are they in place? Hi lechatzer umavoi hasmuchim l'rishus harabim. This is only referring to chatzerim, courtyards, and mavois, alleyways, hasmuchim l'rishus harabim, that lead to a rishus harabim. V'gam einam mikayrim, and they're not roofed over. The domi l'rishus harabim, so that they are similar to a rishus harabim, to a public domain. Umishav hachi ein matirin lahatzel elamazin sudais, and that's why we only allow you to save food for the 3 sudas of Shabbos, the kelim atzrichim, and the utensils that you need for the day. Aval abayis acher she'erav imay, but if you want to save stuff from the house to another house, not to a chutzner, you're going to go through a chutzner, but you want to take stuff from your house to your friend's house, and it's a friend that you have an erev with, you have an eruvei chatzeros, you joined rishuyas with him, so that you don't have a problem with the drabanan, yachal lahaitzi kol masha yirtzeh. Then you're allowed to take out whatever you want, because then we have no chash of aitzah drabanan. Now you're all wondering, and the Chavetz Chaim is going to point this out. Wait a second. We said that the reason for all the limitations over here is because we're afraid that you might come to put out the fire. Now we're saying that all of these limitations are only in place when there's a fear that you might come to be over on Haitzah. Where did this come into play? So the Chavetz Chaim is going to say in the Mishnah Berurah that according to this Shita, all of these Gzeras are only when there's 2 problems. There's a problem of Shema Yechabe, and there's also a problem that you might come to Haitzah. But if there's no problem of Haitzah, then you can take whatever you want. All the limitations are off.
Then he's not worried. He's not rushing. I have a whole day. I'm coming to my house. If there's an Eruv, there's a problem with the Eruv and all this, then he's going to be afraid that he's going to do everything.
I hear what you're saying. It's a nice idea, but we'll have to see if it holds water in the Mishnah Berurah. I don't think so. Let's see. Va'af lechotzer. The Mechaber says weiter. Va'af lechotzer lo yamru ela lechatzer chaveroi. And also, when you're coming to take out to save your stuff to a chutzner, over there we're not going to answer that either, unless you're going to somebody else's chutzner, or doesn't really mean somebody else's chutzner. It means a common chutzner. Aval chutzner shaloi, but you want to say take stuff out of your house and put it into your backyard. Sheina tzricha erev. You don't need an eruvei chatzeris in your backyard. It only opens up onto you. You're the only rishus in your backyard. It's not multiple rishuyas in your backyard, so there's no eruvei chatzeris. Yachal lahaitzi kol masha yirtzeh. Then you could save whatever you want. The Yeshayim shein chilik. Others say that there is no such distinction. Let's see the words of the Chavetz Chaim. Ois cotton chav zayin. Aval abayis acher ritzayna loymar. With this, the Mechaber means to say the kaven shu mekayra. Since you're a house, your friend's house is roofed over, it's not similar at all to a Rishus Harabim. And therefore there's no room to make a Gzera that we're afraid that you're going to come to Haitzah Daraisa. Even though until now we said the whole reason for these limitations is because you might come to put the fire out, this first opinion in Sif Yod Aleph in the Mechaber holds that to become Makayim loigos rinon bazeh, we only make these limitations rak heichadik achshash haitzah gamkein. There has to be a fear that you might come to put the fire out, and a fear that you might be over on haitzah. If you don't have both, there's no gzera. Ais kat l'chavches, shein etzricha erev. You want to save stuff to your backyard, but you don't need an erev. Ritzayin loymar shein b'diurin. In your backyard, there's nobody living in your backyard. Again, I'm sorry I can't give the whole background to this. I'm making an assumption that most people know this from learning the rest of Hilchos Shabbos. The only time you needed a Ruvei Chatzeris, the purpose of a Ruvei Chatzeris is, Midaraisi, you're not allowed to carry from a Rishos HaYachid to a Rishos HaRabim. Midarabonon, you live in a house, there's a courtyard, there are 6 houses opening to the courtyard. All 7 people living in this courtyard have permission to use the courtyard. That courtyard is similar to a Rishos HaRabim. Now, if it has mechitzis around it, it's not a Rishos HaRabim. If it's walled in, midaraisa, it's a Rishos HaYachid. So you're allowed to carry from your house to that chutzner, midaraisa. Midarabanan, you're not allowed to carry from the house to the courtyard, because since the courtyard is servicing 7 households, so a little bit it looks like a Rishos HaRabim. Because of that, we have an Issa D'Rabbanan to carry from the house to there. But you want to carry from your house to your backyard? Your backyard is completely a Rishos HaYachid. It doesn't resemble a Rishos HaRabim at all. It only serves you. It doesn't serve anyone else. V'dami kabayis echad. So carrying from your house to your backyard is similar to one house, shenafa badleika, where a fire started. Shamuta l'haitzi mecheda l'cheda l'kuli alma v'legazer bazeh. Nobody would say that you're not allowed to carry something from one room to another room. So to carry from your house to the backyard is no problem. Other opinions say that there is no distinction here. Since the reason for the gzera is you might come to put out a fire, mali chotzer, mali bias, mali abachotzer rabim, achotzer shaloi, it doesn't matter. The gzera over here is we're afraid you might put the fire out. And therefore the limitations are in place even if you're going to bring the stuff to somebody else's house or to your backyard. Ula Maisa, says the Chavetz Chaim, Kevichu Milsa D'Rabbanan. Since we're talking about the Rabbanans over here, Evshir Sheyesh Lismach Lahakel, it looks like there's a strong reason here to be makel and to say that all of these limitations are not in place if you're carrying to a place where there's no chash of Hoitzah. Brings down over here that the Shulchan Aruch Harav paskins like the Machmir. Okay. Sif Cotton Yud Beis. This is a very interesting sif. Kol Kisvei HaKodesh Matzilin. You're allowed to save all svarim. Kol Kisvei HaKodesh Matzilin Ha'idna, very important word. Nowadays, you're allowed to save all Kisvei HaKodesh, and we'll see what that means nowadays, what the purpose of that word is. Mipnei Adleika, you're allowed to save them from fire. V'koirin Bahem, and you're also allowed to learn and read out of all Kisvei Kodesh, Afilu Ksuvim B'Chalashain, no matter what language they're written in, Va'afilu Ksuvim B'Sam U'B'Sikra U'B'Kol Davar, and even if they are not written with ink, if they're written with some kind of an inferior publishing method that doesn't leave such a clear print, that is not really considered a ksiva, it's not really considered a valid writing. We're going to stop the Mechaber here and dive into the Chavetz Chaim to see exactly what is the Mechaber telling me here. Eis Katan Lamed, Kol Kisvei HaKodesh. First of all, he defines what does this mean, Kol Kisvei HaKodesh. Hainu Tanach u'Gemara v'chol HaSfarim. We're talking about Torah Shebiksav, Torah Nevi'im and Ksuvim. We're talking about Gemara, v'chol HaSfarim, and all other Sfarim of Kedusha. V'Torah Shebiksav. Now, if you have Sfarim that you have to save, Chas v'Shalom, from a fire, Torah Shebiksav Kedemis La'atzil Torah Shebal Peh. First, you should save Chomashim, Nevi'im, Ksuvim. That comes before the Chasen Shas. So you save Torah Shebiksav before Torah Shebal Peh. Va'afilu Torah Shebal Peh mush'olim or muskarim loy. Even if you have Sfarim that you borrowed of Torah Shebal Peh, or you rented, and if you don't save those Sfarim, it's going to hit you in the pocket. You're going to have to pay for those Sfarim. Still, you have to save Torah Shebiksav first. If there's a mace in the house, you save the mace, you save the corpse before you do the Sfarim. The Mechaber said, Matzilin ha'idna. Nowadays, we could save all of these Svarim. What's at work here? There's a lot of very Yesodistic information in this Mishnah Berurah. Matzilin ha'idna. Ha-denakat paloshan ha'idna. This that the Mechaber says that nowadays we're allowed to save these Svarim. Mishum deratzel asayim. It's because the Mechaber wants to end off by saying, Afilu ksuvim b'chaloshain. even if the Sfarim are written in any language other than Lashon HaKodesh, and even if they're written with inferior inks. What's at work here? Ubir Adavar, the explanation of this is, Tihinei mitzad adin. We know that me'ikar adin, from the strict letter of the law, Torah shebiksav, the written Torah Nevi'im Ksuvim, ain't kaisvin. You're not allowed to write it. Eliksav ashuris. You're only allowed to write it in Lashon HaKodesh. You're only allowed to write it in Hebrew, in Lashon HaKodesh, and you have to write it in the type of script that we use in the Sefer Torah. You're only allowed to write it in Ksav Ashuris. So you want to have a Chumash, you can't have an Art Scroll Chumash. Really, you're only allowed to have Lashon HaKodesh written in Ksav Ashuris. The Torah Shabbal Peh, and the oral Torah Shabbal Peh, also Lichtov, you're not allowed to write it at all. Can't write a Shas, can't have a printed Shas. Ela Karinai Shabbal Peh. We all have to know it Bal Peh. So everything that we're doing here is B'di'evitz. V'im Shina, and if you divert from these rules, V'hein Torah Shabiksav, whether you took Torah Shabiksav, Torah Nevi'im Ksuvim, Sheksavai Shalai Kedin, that you wrote it in a way that you're not allowed to write it, Biksavai in its writing. In other words, you didn't write it in Ashuris. You wrote it, let's say, in Rashi script, or in one of the scripts that we use, or in language. You didn't write Torah Shabiksav in Hebrew. You wrote Torah Shabiksav in English, the Stone Chumash. Im Kasav Shabbal Peh, or if you wrote down anything from Torah Shabbal Peh, if you did that, if you deviated from this law, Ein Kairin Bahem. You're not allowed to learn from those Sfarim. You're not allowed to read those Sfarim. V'gam ein matzilim ha'isam b'Shabbos from Nadleika. And therefore on Shabbos you would not be allowed to save these Sfarim from a fire. To also l'taltalam klal, because they're aser betiltal, they're muktzah. They're muktzah makmas gufay. They have no purpose. They have no use. You're not allowed to read them. So you hear what's going on here? Me'ikar adin, you're not allowed to write down Chumash in English. You're not allowed to write down Chumash in Lashon HaKodesh unless you have a Seif and you write it in Ashuris. If you have it, you're not allowed to use it. Torah Shabbal Peh, Gemara, you're not allowed to write down Gemara. You're not allowed to write down a Rajba. You wrote it down, it's Aser. It's Muktzah, you're not allowed to touch it. You're not allowed to use it. Aval ha'idna, but nowadays, the Batzer Liba, where our hearts are weakened, ki nismayit hadas v'hazikaron, because we're lacking in knowledge and in memory, Hoter lichtayv Torah Shabbal Peh. Chazal were matir. They permitted us to write down Torah Shabbal Peh, kedei shelo yishtakhu, so that Chas v'Shalom should become forgotten. V'gam b'chol ksav v'loshain, and they let us write it down in any language, in any script. V'gam Torah Shabiksav, and also the written law, Torah Shabiksav, Torah Nevi'im Ksuvim, they were matir us. They permitted us to write it down b'chol loshain in any language, or b'chol ksav and in any script. Kadeshi Avinu Kala Amis Divrei Torah, so that we should all have access to the Torah Kedusha. Ki'ena Kol B'Kiyin B'Lashon HaKodesh. Not everybody knows Hebrew. V'samchu Kol Ze'al Ma'adiksiv Eis Lasis L'Hashem Heferu Terasecha. Chazal based all of these heterim on the pasuk Eis Lasis L'Hashem. There's a time that we have to do something for Hashem, L'Shem Shamayim. Heferu Terasecha, even if it means going against the strict letter of the law. V'lachein Kairin Behen. Therefore, all of these Sfarim nowadays you're allowed to use. And therefore you're allowed to save them from a fire on Shabbos. How about our Svarim Hakdoshim, a Chumash, or Divrei Tanakh, that are written in the Goyish languages, V'nimtza etzlam, and they have them. That means a guy went ahead, a Goyish printing house went ahead, and they printed the Old Testament for their own use, for their own purposes, and they have it. And now you come across one. Yesh lehistapekim tu'unim geniza. Do you have to put this in Shemus? Or are you allowed to throw it in the garbage? Because there is no permissibility to write down the Torah Kedusha in another language or using a different script. There is no heter of Eis Lasis L'Hashem Heferu Terasecha for a non-Jew. So that sefer that the non-Jew wrote maybe has no kedusha. Lamaisa, I've heard over from the Yeshiva Zatzal that if a printing house does this, if a Goyish printing house does it, they're doing it for mass marketing. They're maybe not only doing it for Goyim, they're doing it maybe for Yidden also. So Lamaisa, he says that we should put it in Shemus, we should bury it, we shouldn't just throw it out. Now, The Mechaber said, even if you have svarim, like Tanakh, that were written b'sam u'b'sikra, points out the Chavetz Chaim, this concept of having Torah, Nevi'im, Uksuvim that are written b'sam u'b'sikra, koyak ksuvim b'chaloshin, that only goes back on something that was written in another language, not in Lashon HaKodesh. Avil malhayu ksuvim Tanakh b'Lashon HaKodesh, Tanakh that's written in Hebrew, lo yehuta likrois b'henim al ksuvim shaloi b'dyoi. That has to be written with dyoi. It has to be written with ink. Can't be written b'sam u'b'sikra. Again, Torah Shabbat Chumash, Navi, that's written in Lashon HaKodesh, has to be written with dyoi. Because again, me'ikar adin, you have to write Torah Shebeksav in Hebrew and with ink. We were mata you to write it in a different language so that people should understand it. So we gave you a heter to write, let's say, Chumash in English. That heter we gave you. But what right do you have to write it in Hebrew and not in Diyoi? That doesn't help you understand it. So there's no heter of Eis Lasis Lashem, Hey Feru Tarasecha, to use Sam or Sikra instead of Diyoi. The heter is only on something that helps you understand it. So you want to write it in English instead of Lashon HaKodesh, that could be matter. But you want to use Sam or Sikra instead of Diyoi, what heter do you have to do that? The Kalahasik Diyoi is just as cheap Diyoi as the other stuff. So that really, he says, there's no heter. Now, how do we do it nowadays? How do we have chumashim that are printed with photo offset and with toner and with this and that? They're not using diyoi. What's the heter? So I spoke to a Paisik today. He told me that the heter is that nowadays the Eis Lasis Lashem Eferu Tarasecha was extended to say that if we don't use mass production methodology, we're not going to have svarim. And if we're not going to have svarim, it's going to be Eferu Tarasecha. Let's just finish this piece. It's late. But the question of saving a sefer from fire, and also whether or not you have to put it in shemis, that certainly, even if you have a sefer that's written in Lashon HaKodesh of Torah Shabbat, but it's not written in Diyoi, it's written in Sama Sikra, certainly you would have to put it in Geniza. Baruch Hashem, we're almost caught up. Okay.